Hi, my name is Thomas, and today I'll be talking to you about the RStudio layout. I'll be your lecturer for advanced research methods. So just to give you a really quick tour of what RStudio is all about and what it all looks like. So we already have a test file open here, but we have a pan here, which is our document. We have a console tab. We have an R Markdown tab below here. So the console works like a command line code, so we can ask it what 4 plus 4 is and it will print some output. So you can test bits of code right here. And R Markdown specifically relates to the document which we have up there, and we'll what happens when we evaluate that document. We'll come to that in a bit. We have a tab here with environment, history, and connections. So things for you to explore, but history sort of tells you what you've been running in the past. In the environment there might be objects which you want to store, like datasets which you want to use, or variables or functions. And then we have a pane here with files, plots, packages, etc., which we'll return to later as well. But now let's first start with making a document. Let's click File, go to New File, R Markdown. Now because I already have something named test, I'll name it test2. We can specify many different outputs: HTML, PDF, Word. Some of these will require that you have additional things installed, such as MikTeX or MacTeX or TeX. And some of it will also require that you have Word installed if you would like R to generate Word documents. You can also use R Markdown to make presentations, to make apps, and there are some useful templates which you might get from packages to help you generate, for example, a CV or some other outputs. Like, for example, you can even get articles going, or you can have vignettes going, or presentations, all sorts of other options. For now, let's just stick with our documents. We'll click OK. I'll close the previous document. You see that it has a title, you see it has my name, you see it has a date, and you can see that it will make an HTML document. Now this first thing is an R chunk. It defines which options are going to apply to the further chunks. Not to worry about that too much. Also in your assignment you'll see some chunk like that in the beginning. It's usually useful to define like some general rules which apply to all sorts of chunks. Now we have bits here which are code in between these 3 ticks, and we have bits which are text which are markdown. And those of you who are familiar with Markdown will be able to see that this, for example, the double asterisk will lead to it to be bold. Now we can also name those chunks, so we can call this chunk cars. Oh, not double click. So this is called cars, and basically this will ask R to make a summary of the cars data frame. And so the cars database is just a database which is already included with R language. We'll return to this later, but other databases you will have to load into R. We can also ask it to include plots, and to see what happens is we'll just knit our documents. We can click knit to HTML and see what happens. We'll give it a name, test2. You can see that lots of things happened in that R Markdown thing at the bottom, but crucially we now have a web page. We can check that by opening it in our browser, and we can see what has happened here. It's printed the R code here and evaluated it, so it's given the information on those 2 variables in the cars data frame, and it's also made this plot. And you'll notice, if you're attentive, that there is no code here. And if we return to RStudio, we'll close this for now, is that we can see that here we have this additional bit which is echo false, which means don't print this R code. So note that the echo false parameter was added to the chunk to prevent printing the R code of the generated plot. So that's very basically your very first introduction into an R Markdown document. Of interest also in this pane is that this is where you'll install packages. So suppose that we want to install a new package called psych. We can type it here. It's coming from a repository. You can also get your files as a zip file and then install them that way. This is where it will go. Usually you want it to install the dependencies as well, because otherwise it won't run because it's dependent on those packages. Now this will install psych. Because we currently have this package attached, we'll ask R to reinstall. It's restarting the R session. So you can see in the console it's installing the packages. You can see it's doing things by that little stop button. This is the size of the package. It's downloaded and it's installed. So in this systemless library we have all sorts of packages. And their different versions. You can usually tell from the description very little what they're doing, but let's have a closer look at the psych package. I already passed it, so let's go back up. Psych. If we click here, we can find out it has to do with procedure for psychological, psychometric, and personality research. And then it has all the relevant functions here, and we can click on those to get further information. So for example, this ability, it will say this is a 16 multiple choice ability items from 1525 subjects. So basically it's a data frame or a data set, and you can find out more information here, details, source, reference, and usually you can also find some example code of where it's used. Okay, so that's just an example code. Usually we also want to click the user guides. There's several ones here, and if we click PDF, it will take us to a PDF file with all the information on this package, which we will read through and find out more about the different functions. So you can always find additional information on how to use a package via those links. Most packages have very, very good and useful information and examples for you to work through. Okay, so information here. I won't go into detail at this stage, but basically when you generate plots, they will come in here. And if you feel that you need to access your files in this way, you can also access your files here. So I think we'll leave it at that for now. I've shown you what an R Markdown document looks like. We've knitted the document via the knit button, which was here, and we've looked at it in our browser. So that's it for now. Until next time, good luck with R.